Hi, this is Mike Merberg, and I've been asked to memorialize an event that occurred back about a week or two ago on June 16th, 2018. Excuse me. We have a CE-5 group that got together here out in West Central Florida, and we did a CE-5 with Buddy Bolton's group out of southern New York State in the Hudson River Valley, and I'll kind of go through what happened. I've got some illustrations here that may be helpful, so here goes. Buddy and I had gotten together by way of Grant Cameron's podcast, and we decided to have a commingled CE-5 where Buddy's group was remotely stationed in the Hudson River Valley, and ours was at my small ranch in Pasco County, Florida. And I'll read from you the text. Buddy and I had decided that we'd get our groups together at about 8:30 in the evening. Things ran a little bit behind schedule. We didn't get out to the field till about 9 o'clock. I called Buddy ahead of time, let him know there was an issue, and then at 9:05 our group got together to do our outside invocation of Love and Light and send up our group projection. At the same time, Buddy was engaging his group to do a remote view and kind of a remote check-in. At 9:07, I texted Buddy, and Buddy's words were, "We just did a 10-minute on your location and others still. I'm going back in, focusing on y'all. Oh, by the way, someone," I later learned this was Buddy, wrote down 10:15 p.m. and that you should see something really cool around then. Much love, Buddy. Namaste. Going back to my notes, one of our group members, Lou Angelwolf, also a stand-up comedian. I don't know if there's something in the universe that unites stand-ups, but it seems that Buddy, I, and Lou have something in common. Lou and Buddy more stand-up than I. I was a total failure at it, so but it did come in handy later on. Needless to say, at 9:05, between 9:05 and 10 o'clock, we had photographs of a lot of small specks of light on our digital camera. My first thought was that they were pollen or light or dust, but it had been raining all day, and it was unlikely that it was pollen or dust. Orbs, I'm pretty sure is a natural phenomenon, but like Occam's razor says, when you hear hoof boots, I think horses, not zebras, so I'm still thinking horses on that one until something else comes around. At 9:42, we heard owls nearby, and now this is kind of uncanny because owls can be harbingers of initiation for ET. I don't know how it works, but they end up showing up, and then we inevitably have ET occurrences shortly thereafter or just shortly before. So at 9:42 we heard the owls. At 9:47 we all spotted a craft moving through the sky. There were multiple flash bulbs that it gave us north of the star Vega. I returned its flash on 3 different occasions with a green laser that I have and used very carefully and very sparingly. It was a high, dark, fast walker. It flashed back in reply to my signals to it, and then it moved north to south and then out of our range. At 9:57, I began to check the time on my phone. Excuse me. I was wondering if Buddy had been right or not. At about the same time, we saw a bunch of distant flash bulbs. They began to appear way up. I was guessing 65,000 feet or better, and they were slightly to the east of being directly overhead. At 10:05, a relatively nondescript and medium-sized orb showed up out of nowhere at what I would guess to be about 250 to 400 yards up and away slightly to the southeast of where we were. Now, we have some members in our group that are MUFON members, and one of the members of the group did, the photograph doesn't show very well. You can kind of see it behind me here on my computer screen. But the craft, there was a craft that did show up. I did a printout of what we saw. The printout's not very good, but you can see it. That was it. That's the culprit. That craft showed up, and then it gave us notice of its presence, and then it gave a very gigantic, what I would call a plasma burst. It was more than just kind of a power-up. The burst was very intense, and it lasted from between 3 to 10 seconds. It engulfed us all. It was very, very bright. It brought tears to one of the members of our crew. It was just really inspiring, and it's up there, and one of my favorite CE-5 occurrences. The camera that we had infrared capabilities, and the power up or the plasma burst or the nova, however you want to call it, did produce this photograph on one of our members' cameras. So as you can see, that's what it did. That's what it'll do to an infrared camera, and that's what it did to ours. So the first blast was quite beautiful and inspiring. There was a second blast that occurred, which was a little bit longer than that. It was 10:05 to 10:07 on my watch that occurrences took place. I'm sorry, on the iPhone, and I was kind of chuckling that we had an occurrence, and Buddy had was off on his timing. But then again, I looked down at my watch and saw that what I have was appointment time. I always set my watch a little bit ahead, so it was exactly 10:15 on my watch. So that in and of itself was a bit astonishing. At the 10:05 occurrence, when the orb appeared, there was also a shooting star in the background, and if I haven't already, I'll send Buddy the photograph to spread around. It's actually quite a good one and quite beautiful. Let's see. I texted Buddy after it happened and let him know that my watch was 10 minutes ahead, so his antenna, whoever I thought was using in the group, was tuned into my watch. He admitted that, well, it was actually me. So he was the one. He called it. At between 10:10 and 10:15, we had some more flash bulbs occur. Once again, very much smaller and far more distant than the craft or the entity that showed above us, and gave us such a nice show and a nice response, and general feeling of love. And then at 10:31, something very strange happened. We had twin ships show up, and they began cavorting with each other. They did a circular dance. I myself only caught the tail end of it, but 4 members of my group, the new ones, saw it very well, and I'll bring up the diagrams in just a minute. After our CE-5 events, we bring people inside to record while it's still fresh in their memories and their recollections, what they saw, what they heard, and what their experiences were. And that goes into the official log of the ranch. At 10:37, we had a streamer or a bolide. A bolide's a large meteorite, easily identifiable, and I believe this one was a bolide and not a streamer. It had a sparkly end to it, and and it was pretty high up in the sky. So I kind of wrote that one off as a bolide. And then at 11:39, we actually had a streamer come through, traveled straight through the constellation Ursa Major from southeast to northwest. Then again, a little after midnight, about 25 minutes after midnight, we had a smaller craft stream through beneath the clouds, which is a pretty good indicator of what you got going on. If it's a meteorite, it'll usually, further up in the atmosphere, and there'll be an arc or a curve, or many times you can see a change in the coloration from white to red as it burns out. And that's pretty much was it for the night. Now, when I had my group come inside, the member of the group who I asked to draw what she saw came up with this, which is interesting in and of itself, at what these ships did. But what really became astounding about this, and really hooked me into the telepathic nature of remote viewing and what can be accomplished between CE-5 groups that do this, and even though they can't share their physical habitus or existence or space, they can do this remotely. Now I'm going to show you what Buddy sent me, which are his notes, and they're really rather remarkable. So let me bring up my low-tech stuff here. These are Buddy's notes. All right. Now, as you can see, he did a great job of, and I'll put them side to side here so you can see. My friend was really on target with what was going on that night. This is Gina's, and this is Buddy's. Okay, now Buddy is, we've known each other for a couple weeks. He'd never been to my place, and I've never described it to him, and he things that you really can't see from Google Earth. But Buddy got the time right, 10:15-ish. He got the circular motion of the dancing craft correct. And little notes to Buddy at the time. There's a couple of trees that he did in his landscape picture of where we do our CE-5. Now, even though it's the field is surrounded by large oaks, there are two large oaks on a prominence in the middle of it that really mark the field out for. It's a prominent factor in the topography of the field. So he even got the two trees right. So I am doing this to record the happening, and with the recommendation and the encouragement that groups that are not already dealing with focusing in and trying to do off-site commingling or group CE-5 encounters, that they get busy with their remote viewing and find a good antenna. And Buddy, I'm going to set my watch back to normal time next time we do this together, so I'm going to keep on trying to fool you. So once again, thanks for listening, and I hope this video does some good. Get out there, find your peace and find your quiet and find your CE-5 group, and start connecting up with the celestial entities and beings of the universe. They love us. They'll find us. They'll find you. It's best to do this in a group. Many times you'll see things and you won't believe what you're seeing unless there are other people around to take notice. It's nice to have a photographer around. We're blessed with the people that we have in our group, and I've never met a finer and more peaceful and loving group of people in my entire life. So the Tao provides, and God bless, and hopefully we'll see you out there under the stars. Bye for now.